Hello again, you sick, twisted weather freaks, and welcome to another fun-filled, action-packed, and intellectually stimulating edition of This Week in Weather. I'm your host and meteorologist, DT from weatherist.com, your commander of chaos, Colonel Confusion, Captain Catastrophe. Let's talk about some summer weather here. And we'll start off first by, as always, taking a look at the website. In case you haven't seen the new website, it's still kind of new, I think. I just thought I'd present it here so you can see what it looks like and different products that we offer for grain trading and for operational weather forecast. And we'll start out first with taking a look at the actual conditions here. This is the uh, short-term forecast here. We're dealing with the GFS model on the left-hand side. Both of the GFS models are 500 millibars. The one on the left is 30 hours or valid for Friday afternoon around 2 o'clock, and the other one is for early Monday morning at 2 a.m. Eastern Time. And what I want to point out here is this trough here in the middle of the country in the Midwest. This is the leading edge of the cold front, and it's battering up against the western Atlantic Ridge or the western side of the Bermuda High. And it's the Bermuda High which is giving us the prolonged heat we've had for much of the week on the East Coast. But the trough is coming eastward, and it's going to bring a cold front with pretty good showers and thunderstorms and then the heat. At the same time, by the time we get out of the weekend, this trough here in the Gulf of Alaska off of British Columbia is going to amplify, and that's going to cause the ridge in the southwestern states to become a monster heat dome, not just a ridge, but a heat dome centered over the Rockies. And that's going to drive extreme heat into the Canadian prairies and the western plains. We're talking temperatures of 105, 110, 115 degrees showing up on some versions of the GFS and the European models in the Dakotas, in Montana, in southern Saskatchewan, southwest Manitoba, even 100-degree heat temperatures in western Minnesota. But interestingly enough, the heat doesn't get into Iowa or Missouri or the rest of the eastern United States, and we'll get into that for a reason. I see this trough here now by 90 hours, which is, like I said, early Monday morning. The trough is pushing through the East Coast. Now, it looks like as soon as this trough were to go away, the ridge here and the dome would expand and send everybody into extreme heat. But before we get into that, to see if that happens, let's take a look at this front when it comes through. So here we are on Saturday afternoon. You can see the front, the radar from the NAM here. The new early Friday morning NAM. You can see some scattered showers and thunderstorms in portions of Pennsylvania, central Virginia, down to eastern Tennessee. Very hit or miss stuff. It's not really developing until Saturday. We get an enlargement here in the middle Atlantic region. You can see, again, this is Saturday evening around 6 p.m. We have big storms in Baltimore and D.C., Northern Virginia, down to Fredericksburg and Ashland, perhaps getting near Richmond. Some other storms in southern portions of West Virginia and in western North Carolina. So it's kind of active, but it's not super active yet. And then as we go into early Sunday morning, this is now actually 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock Saturday night. Now the front's pushing southward. We have a much more significant line of thunderstorms in the evening hours, stretching from Salisbury and Wallops Island across Virginia Eastern Shore into the Middle Peninsula, approaching Newport News and Williamsburg, the Richmond metro area, Petersburg, down towards South Hill and Boston, and Lake Kerr, and then in towards, let's say, Greensboro, or between Greensboro and Raleigh. Again, that's Saturday night, 11 p.m. And we look at the front, how it comes through. Here's the Saturday evening. This is the GFS, just a general precipitation map, not a radar map. But this is, for the most part, this is pretty accurate, I think, with the front pushing through in western New York State and Pennsylvania, down to West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee. Saturday still looks, for the most part, sunny and hot in Virginia, southeast Pennsylvania, New Jersey, the Delmarva, North Carolina, South Carolina, southern Georgia. But that front is coming through. Now, this is Saturday night into Sunday morning. And here the precipitation looks pretty significant in New York, in New England, eastern New York State, eastern Pennsylvania, Philly, Allentown, New Jersey, the Delmarva, the DC, Baltimore, Richmond, Lynchburg. It's looked like it's pushed through most of the Shenandoah Valley, still raining pretty good in Piedmont. The rain is approaching the Hampton Roads area. The Outer Banks still not getting rain Saturday night, but they will Sunday. And then the rain continues into much of North Carolina and Tennessee. In terms of the rainfall amounts, well, this takes us to Saturday at 9 a.m. And you can see that the front is going to drop significant rain in western New York State, Ohio, northern Ohio, southeast Michigan, a good portion of Indiana, central and southern Illinois, and central and southern Missouri. That's just by Saturday evening. at I guess that would be Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Now this is by Monday morning at 9 a.m. You can see the front is pushed through south of Virginia into North Carolina. So the front really doesn't give a lot of precipitation to Virginia, North Carolina. I think that's underdoing the precipitation here. It's got a lot more rain in Tennessee, North Carolina, and Kentucky than it does in Virginia and Maryland. So I think, if we go back and compare these two, this takes us to Saturday morning, and then we go 48 hours after that. We don't get a lot of precipitation in Maryland or Virginia from this front. I think that's underdoing it here. And then finally, as we go into Tuesday into Wednesday, you can see the front is now stalled across the deep south, which is going to break the heat for those guys and bring a lot of showers and thunderstorms to that area. In terms of the temperatures the next 5 days, okay, it's a little warmer than normal in New England and Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York State, not a big deal. But behind the cold front in the Midwest, temperatures are below normal. You can see that in Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, the deep south, because of the cloud cover and the high pressure coming in behind the front. Now, as we go further out in time, we can take a look here at some of these MJO plots. Now, we have the GFS on the left and the Ensemble, and there's the European on the right. And you can see that the GFS is taking it, if you follow the blue and green lines, into phase 4 and phase 5, almost to phase 6 by the time we get to the end of July. The European briefly brings it out to phase 4 and 5 and then curls it back into phase 6. Now that has implications because phase 5 and 6 are much drier and hotter for the Midwest, but it's still pretty pleasant for the eastern United States. This is the new European that just came out. You can see it a little further into phase 4 and 5 by the end of July. And more of the spaghetti lines are outside the neutral circle. So maybe the GFS is onto something here. And the reason why that's important is because of this. Let me see if I can enlarge this a little bit. You can see here, now the one on the left are temperatures. This is phase 5 in July. You can see the extreme heat is indicated much above normal in the Dakotas and the upper Midwest, but not so much for the East Coast or the southeastern states. And the precipitation is very dry for everybody. So that's why that's important, with respect to whether or not the MJO goes into phase 5 and phase 6. Here is the Kyle McRitchie experimental MJO from the CFS derivatives, and you can see that it goes into phase 5 and 6 in late July, and then it kind of curls back to the neutral circle. It's always going to do that over time, but definitely the phase 5 and 6 in late July, and that is hot and dry for the Midwest and the Plain States, but not for the East Coast. Now, as we look at the models to see how they're matching up with the MJO, this will take us now around day 5, 6, and 7. Now, on the left-hand side, we have the GFS, valid here early Wednesday morning. On the right-hand side, we've got the European, also valid Wednesday morning. The big difference here is that both features have a dome there. You see the GFS, see the dome here over Utah and Wyoming, and there's the ridge, here's a trough on the East Coast. But the European has the same thing, but the dome is not quite as far east. The difference is both models have this upper low. You see this over Texas? This is actually part of the trough on the East Coast. It breaks off and it retrogrades into Texas. You see how it does this? It breaks off in Texas and goes down to here. So what that does is that forces the ridge to expand this way, in this direction, from Utah into Nebraska, from Utah and Wyoming into Nebraska and South Dakota and Nebraska and Iowa, maybe. So that's what it's trying to do. Now the trough is so deep that you're going to have high pressure coming down from north of Minnesota, driving cool air into the East Coast, and then into the Midwest. So you end up with a very significant temperature contrast. Iowa could be a lot cooler than, let's say, Nebraska or South Dakota. So for example, Iowa could see temperatures of 85, while Grand Island can see 105 because of the shape of the trough here. And it's a very deep trough. You do not usually see a trough this deep on the East Coast in late July. This is quite unusual, I must say. And it gets even more bizarre. Look at this. This is July 25, GFS, the European. Monster trough on the East Coast. Are you kidding me? You didn't see this until January. Look at the size of this monster trough. Holy crap. And it's pretty damn impressive. Now, the ridge on the GFS is still there and the European is still there, but this trough is huge. And again, that means high pressure coming down from Hudson's Bay, okay, into the heart of the Midwest and the East Coast. These are ideal temperatures for late July. but it's a dry pattern. You're getting a flow right out of Canada. So this is a dry pattern. And then in the plains and perhaps maybe the upper Midwest, you have a high pressure ridge, which of course is also dry. So everybody east of the Rockies is dry here for the last week of July. No matter what happens, whether it's because of the heat dome and the ridge or because of the monster trough pulling in dry Canadian air to the eastern half of the country. Look at these temperatures in the plains. I want to show you these temperatures. This is now Wednesday, July 21 and July 23. Look at these readings. I am not kidding you. Let me see if I can enlarge this a little bit so you can see it. Yep. Let me see here. Here we go a little bit. And then you can see 105, 107. Are you kidding me? 109 in the Dakotas. And look at that in western Minnesota. And then down here, same sort of thing. Now the heat extends. By this time, it expands all the way down to Texas. But look at the difference. Look at Des Moines, Iowa. It's 82, but it's 95 in Grand Island. Okay, in southeast Minnesota, Rochester is like 75, but Pierre it's 105. I mean, amazing temperature contrast. So it's not. This is just quite very impressive. Because of the pattern. If we look at our 6 to 10 day for the eastern U.S., it's normal. You can't ask for better temperature anomalies in late July than this for the eastern half of the country. Now, as we go further on in time, in 11 to 15 day, the image on the left is the Gfs Ensemble. You can see it. It's got the dome back over the Rockies and the southwestern states, and we still have this bit of a trough here over the eastern U.S., and that keeps the heat back in the Rockies and maybe the Central Plains into Texas. And then the European on the right hand side here, look where the trough is much stronger. You see how much deeper it is? So both of these models show ring of fire thunderstorms and possible derechos coming down from Canada right along this jet stream boundary, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, that sort of thing. But the trough is deep on the European, so you might have derechos going from the Dakotas down to Virginia or Kentucky and Pennsylvania. But in either case, the dome is pushed way back to the west into the Rockies. So we don't get the heat crossing into Minnesota, Iowa, or Missouri. It just doesn't happen. Not if these maps are correct. And this is the extended Canadian. It's the same sort of thing. This just came out this evening. You can see it's got a serious trough on the eastern coast, and then the heat dome is over Texas and New Mexico and Colorado, and it's very hot in Nebraska, probably Missouri and Arkansas and Texas as well, but it doesn't go any further than that. Look at these temperatures. This is the GFS, operational GFS. Now this is, again, this is not the ensemble, this is the operational run. And you can see, look here for July 27th, Des Moines is 88 degrees, 89, and Grand Island is 106. Okay, and Valentine's 109. Oh my God, amazing temperature contrast. And we can see that even by 300 hours out, the GFS from this morning wanted to push the heat into western Iowa. But if you look at the ensembles, they do not support this. It does not support 103 in Minneapolis, 108 in southwest Iowa. That's bullshit. Not going to happen. But look at these amazing temperatures in Kansas, Nebraska, 112, 113, 115, 112. Now that seems too high. But remember, they're having a drought there. Recently, South Dakota's seen some very good rains the last 2 weeks, but larger portions of Nebraska, the Dakotas, have had dryness now for weeks and weeks going back to the winter. They have serious subsurface moisture problems. So it is possible the dry grounds here can take 102 degrees and force it to 108. So that's something to keep in mind here with the impact of the drought. And if you look 11 to 15 day for the eastern U.S., the European ensemble has that trough on the east coast. No heat, no problems. It looks fine. So in summary, what we're going to have to see is whether or not the heat ever expands eastward. I don't think it's going to. And the late July looks really nice on the east coast. And next week looks really nice on the east coast with this monster trough coming down, next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend. Hopefully the folks on the plains don't cook. They're enforcing extreme heat, but I think the Midwest and the East Coast is going to do very fine for the last 10 or 12 days of July. This is meteorologist DT from Weather Risk. I'll see you over on the Facebook page and on the Twitter page.